Isn't he a cutie? Hi knitters, welcome to PJKnits. My name's Penny. I live in Central Illinois. And I'm a knitter, a blogger, and a YouTube podcaster. Welcome to my channel today, to the podcast. Today I'm going to tell you about, first of all, the weather here in Central Illinois. Let's start there. It is Tuesday, February 6th, and right now it's 40 degrees. We're supposed to have sunshine by now, and probably it will burn off the fog later on, but right now it's just foggy and 40 degrees, and we have been having some really different temperatures here in Central Illinois. You know, usually in February we could look at snow and colder weather, and I am not complaining at all, because it'll be in the 40s today, 50, and we've been eking towards 60 somewhat, but I don't see in my foreseeable future here that we will be having snow for a while. So anyway, I'm grateful for that. I know that it is way, way, way too early for these temps, and I know this is totally going to confuse my plants and flowers and all that. I definitely do realize that every February, for me, there's a couple of allergens that start producing, and so I had to start taking my allergy med yesterday. Totally forgot what the allergist had told me. So anyway, that's the raspy voice. I'm feeling fine. It just goes with the season now through the end of the year when we have our first frost. So it comes and goes. Anyway, today's title is going to be something like Gilligan's Island 3-hour tour. If you are brought up in the 60s, you know, remember that show. I watched it all the time. It was, you know, about Gilligan and a crew that went out on a boat for a 3-hour tour, and they ended up getting marooned on a lovely island for a long time. And it always seemed like they had everything that they needed, right, when they went on the 3-hour tour. So that's kind of where I am going with today's podcast, because I want to talk about something that I'm going to be doing in a week or so. I'm heading out on a little adventure, my first ever in a couple of years, going out and traveling. My kids will be joining me later. And so we're looking forward to some fun in the sun. And even though where we are going, it's not going to be super, super warm, it will be a nice time to be together and exploring. I will, along the way, I don't know that I will post that much about where I'm at or what I'm doing when I do finally get out of here. But I may just wait and save it for a time when we're all together or whatever. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing, but anyway, look for me on Instagram. I'm PJKnits, and I will put some stuff on the blog as well. This will be the only episode, I believe, in February, because I will be gone for most of the rest of the time. So I'll be back in March with kind of a recap of what happened, and some other really fun things are coming up that hopefully in March I will have information to tell you all about. So looking forward to all of that. So let's get started. When I say Gilligan's Island knitting, I am packing for a trip, the assumption being made, I always overpack. And that is the fun, right, of being able to drive. Because if you can drive, then you can pack whatever you want, and that's what I'm doing. You know, I have, I'm a list maker, you know that. I'm a journal maker, all of those things, and I'm going to have a journal that I'm going to talk about as well. But I'm packing stuff, right? I'm packing knitting because, again, contingency plans. What if? What if I have to stay longer? What if I come along construction? What ifs? And so I want to have plenty of knitting materials and knitting things to do. Now, the lovely part about my trip that's coming up, and where I'm going is I'm going to be able to, there are yarn shops along the way, and I'm hoping either going down or coming back, being able to stop and visit some of these yarn shops and check them out. So it's not like I'm not going to be anywhere without yarn, but I have a definite plan going forward. And so I have started kind of my setting aside of the things that I want to take for my knitting, and I'm going to share those with you today. So this is packing for a 3-hour tour, as it would be. First up, I'm fairly certain I'm going to take, I've been on the fence about this back and forth, but I'm fairly certain I'm going to take this as well. And all of my projects seem to be a lot of, right now, thankfully, easy knitting things. And so I am going to take my Hap shawl by Gudrun Johnston. Here's where I was the last time. And so right now I am just still doing the center square. I am nearing, soon I should be nearing a couple of hundred stitches on the needles and then be able to decrease. But I'm going to take this because this I think will be great knitting again. You can pick it up and put it down. And so this is the Hansel Hap by Gudrun Johnston, and we're doing a hap along here at PJKnits, and we have quite a few people who are knitting on theirs and are a lot further than mine, but so I'll be knitting on mine. I think I'm going to take this with me. Also, I want to, just as a reminder, on Monday, March 4th at 6 p.m. Central Time, we're going to do another Zoom for those who are doing the Hap Along, and I will have that information in the Ravelry group, the PJKnits Ravelry group as well. So there will be information about that. But just to give you a heads up, and if you're thinking about doing a Hap, you can join anytime. We'd love to have you join us. If you've got a whip, as I do, a couple, or you have some inspiration, it doesn't have to be necessarily a Hap that you're knitting on, because we have a couple that are doing Hap likes, and we're glad to have you all come and show us what you're working on. So that will be Monday, March 4th, all goes well, at 6 p.m. on Zoom. So this is one that is going with me. I am going to look for another bag to put it in, because I want to pare down my bags. I want like a zip project bag, and I know I have something upstairs, so I will change out my bag from my coffee one. I will do that as well. So that's one of the projects that is going with me, and I'm not even through one of the skeins of yarn from Lost City Knits, so I think that I will skein up one more just in case on the decrease, because I think I might need it. So I will put in a baggie, and I'll show you in a little bit what that kind of like process looks like. But I will skein up one more yarn because I want to make sure I have that. And then also, I finished my last winter sweater, and we'll talk about this later, but almost as soon as I finished my last winter sweater, I went to my basket and I pulled out a yarn that I wanted to cast on for a sweater for transitional into spring, right? Also / summer, because I'm really a proponent of knitting ahead of the season, and as much as I want to go back to my Pullover one that I've shown in the past, I've kind of put it aside because this has to be the last winter sweater for now. And as we go into further down the road, maybe I'll pull out a winter sweater to work just every so often, but I am geared for going into transitional and spring sweaters. The yarn that I picked out and was going to cast on, I had to put back, because I went to my journal, and I do monthly pages, and in my journal, what I planned on in February was a couple of sweaters, and it was not the one I had picked out. So I went back to my original plan, and the one that I cast on, and I'm super stoked about it, is the Daily Pullover by Paula Pereira. Now, I have to say, I'm on a Paula kick, because this was one of hers, and so not a coincidence at all, I didn't pick this out. I didn't look at, when I picked out the sweater for this comfy to wear, I didn't look at the designer. I just saw it in the book and knew that I wanted to knit it. And also, I've had the yarn in this one for a year or so, and I knew that I wanted to knit it as well, but I didn't realize at all that it was by Paula. I did not buy either one of the patterns or knit either one because they were her patterns. But anyway, so immediately I decided to cast on the daily pullover, and I am using linen quill that was in my PYS for some time in the cobalt blue. And there's not a whole lot to show other than the fact that right now I am doing the body. So this is all perfect knitting in the round right now. And when I get a little bit more substance to it, I will double check my gauge and the width to see if I need to make any kind of adjustments when it comes to needle sizes or increases or decreases. So, and again, I will find a small little project bag for this one to go into as well. But for right now, I seem to be really wanting to knit on this so much. If you watched past videos like, or Instagram, you know, last summer, I have a dress that this will go perfectly over, and it's a sleeveless, it's a summer dress. So sleeve length will dictate as we go down the road. And I don't wear sleeveless dresses at all, really. I don't wear sleeveless. There's always a sweater or something over it, right? So this goes perfectly over that dress, and that is my plan, to wear this sweater over the dress come summer. I think it'll be perfect. I love linen quill. I've knit several things out of it, and I think I have one more sweater quantity of it that will go maybe transitional into fall because it's a darker color. And then I think I need to step aside from linen quill. But coming out of PYS, I'm super stoked about that as well. So that one is definitely going with me. That one's actually going to be kind of my hotel project, something I take into the hotels as I'm traveling to knit on at night. By the way, please grab a cuppa and you're knitting while we're sitting here and chatting. And again, just to talk about snowmen, while I was working, people started buying me snowmen type things and collectibles for birthdays and Christmas. And so right after Christmas, I always put up a little snowman tree with all of those lovelies of things that have been pretty much made. These were all from our girls' holiday bash we used to put on at work. And one of my friends, Christy, would make all of these different snowman related themed type things. And so I just put them on my tree because in January we can have snow, and I decorate around the house for the snowman theme as well. So, but before I go, I'm going to start taking the snowman stuff away, because by the time I get back, we'll be into March, and it will be the start of real spring. And my mug came this year was part of the Advent that I did with 4 others. And this was from Peggy, and I love this. So let's take a little break and take a little sip. That's the problem with having allergies. When you start to talk too much, your throat gets gravelly and it gets a little dry. So you have to remember to always take something. So getting back to the other things. This particular one is the Musselburgh hat, and this one usually sits and will sit in my front seat. This is a just-in-case project, just in case you need some knitting to grab and go, or you're stuck in construction or at a train, or you just want to pull over and knit for a little bit. And so I am using Watery Tart. This was a gift a couple of years ago. I have been working on my Musselburgh hat for quite some time, and this was the last time you saw it. This is where I was at with my Highland Coup and my Highland Coup stitch protectors, but this is where I'm at. Now I'm nearing the length that the pattern calls for, but I have sufficient yarn, so I think what I'm going to do is continue to knit on this for, I've been making some notes on other people's projects, and I think I'm going to go to maybe like 20, 21 inches, see how far that can get me, because I really want this to be nice and comfy cozy. So this is Knitted Wit Watery Tart that was a gift. So this will sit on my front seat to grab when I so desire. One never knows if you're going to get stuck in construction, right? You know, that happens on a 3-hour tour. And so that will be going along and it sits in the front seat for most of all time. And I'm loving Musselburgh hats, this hat, the more I knit on it, because this is a perfect hat for one skeins, but it's also great for knitting in public, knitting on Zoom, or knitting at appointments. You can easily pick this one up and down, and that's what I really like about it, once you get past that initial cast on. So that is one of the projects that is going with me. And then next up, I have in my lovely Stephanie bag. This has definitely been on my radar all along. I put it away for my trip. I put it away last summer because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to knit it, but I have an ensemble in the working of what I'm going to wear this with. It is the Friday Tee by Petite Knit. And I've started this last year, and I'm loving this just as much. So I'm going to take this. This is not one I necessarily will be knitting on when we're sitting around at night, but rather early in the morning when I'm by myself, or late at night when I'm just, you know, relaxing in my room and watching podcasts or TV. So this is the Friday Tee. I am super stoked about that. And this one I'm hoping to get some progress done on it as well. I have a jacket that goes over it in the early spring, and I will be wearing this in the summer for sure. So that is one of my projects. And then next up, let's see, in my little Easter bag, my half and half. And I am taking this because I'm still on the first half, and I would love to finish the first half while I'm on vacation. It is all garter, and again, haven't gotten very far on that, but I have a second skein that I have wound up to take. And again, I think this will be a pretty easy project to work on. I have a plan for my half and half, and so I really would like to get that first half done, partly because I have increased the needle size on it, and I have increased the amount of stitches that I put on it, and I want to see how far 3 skeins, if 3 skeins will indeed get me for the entire half. So that one is going along into my bag. So you see there's a couple of garter stitches. There is a stockinette, and then there's a pattern type one as well. And then I think that's it for projects that I'm taking. But in my little handy bag, I have pulled out my summer bag, and in this bag I have wound up my yarns for an extra for my cobalt blue one. I've got one in here for my half and half, and I've got the yarns for the Friday Tee. It helps if you do that. So I've got those yarns. These are all of my extra yarns, and I almost put another one in for a Musselburgh, but I thought I have sufficient garter projects in there for sure to take care of my little 3-hour tour knitting. So I had plenty, so I backed off. I definitely backed off on that. But other things that I want to talk about that's going into my bag of knitting. First off, I have my needles, but I'm going to go back and I'm not going to take this whole big case. I wanted to, but I have the original Chai Goo needle case, and so I'm going to pare it down and put replace and put all my needles in here, one of each of the sizes and one of each of the cords, so that I'm prepared, and so that I just have to take this and not all that. So that is kind of a project that I'm going to do maybe today, tomorrow, whatever. I also am taking, because I anticipate that I will be doing get to some sleeves, and so I am putting in my little Chiagu sets as well, and I will take them along. Here they are, and they will go in my little Snoopy bag. So I'm putting that into my little knitting things that I am taking along. And then last but not least, I've got my Notions bag. Now this is the Notion bag that it has everything you'd ever want for a Notion in here. You know, things that that you'd want. Then I also will have in my knitting bag that I, just carry around from place to place. I have a little pouch that has just, basic stuff. But this has all of the things that you might want and that you might need. Paper and pen. There's highlighter tape. I've got my barber cords. I've got lip balm. I've got needles. I've got sewing up needles as well. I've got a nail file. I've got my scale in here, pen, pencil, and some extra markers. Row counter, even though I use my watch for a lot of that. And then, just a small little set of needles and toothpicks, hair tie. I guess that's it. All the essentials, Post-it notes. So I will have that in my knitting bag that will just stay in the car, but I will have a little pouch as well. So, and then last but not least, as we go on to the trip, when we went to Montreal, my friend Victoria gave us all a little notebook, and so I've used only part of this for my trip of Montreal. So I am going to use the rest of the pages in this for my trip to document and journal about my trip as we go. So I've got a few pages there, and I will put fun stuff in it. Probably will write in it more than put things in right away, just in case I run out of room. Then I can always add some pages to the back. So this is going to kind of be my knitting of PJKnits Knitting Adventures notebook for this time, because I want to kind of keep track. Pardon me. Very good. So those are just kind of some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about when it comes to doing some knitting adventures, adventures and knitting, and things that I'm going to take on my 3-hour tour with me. I'd love to know in the comments below if this is something that you do. And I know as knitters, when we're going on a trip, avid knitters, the first thing you think about is what knitting you're going to take. And that totally was me, and I wanted to share that with you. So we have some other things that I wanted to talk to you about today. We're going to talk next about my sweater project. As I said at the outset here, this is my last winter sweater, and this is the comfy sweater. This is out of 52 Weeks of Easy Knits. I purchased this last year. And knew immediately just from the aesthetic of this alone is what I wanted to knit, because it also gave me a little bit, I love the styling on that with the pants. So I am on the search for like a burgundy pant to wear in the winter time with it for sure. But the thing I loved about this pattern when I saw it too is it was different. Number one, it was different, out of my comfort zone, definitely when it comes to knitting. And it was a lot of work. It was out of Malabrigo Rios, out of Frank Okra and Hollyhock. And the Frank Okra is what the sample here was originally knit out of. And then she used kind of a corally, but I went with Hollyhock, which is what my local yarn shop had. And so that's really, I wanted to knit something out of this colorway of yarn for sure. Now, as you can see on hers, she did not do the contrast at the neck, but on the advice of friends, I decided to cast on and do the same thing, but at the top, start with the Hollyhock, and then I put it on the sleeves, and I also put it on the bottom of the rib. So I love this book. There's a lot of designs. I've talked about it before that I want to knit out of it, and I may have already cast this on. But it's not going on my knitting tour with me, or my, I don't want to call my trip adventures, knitting adventures, because it's really for family adventures. So I'm calling it PJKnits, adventures, but I have a hard time remembering that. But anyway, when I get home, I'm going to work on that, because I think that would be a great spring transitional sweater for sure. So let's give you some details on it. I cast on the second size of her pattern. It is a 41-inch finished measurement. I use Malabrigo Rios of Frank Okra. That's what this is. And I used just shy of 1,200 yards. And then the Hollyhock was the contrast. And this just took about 45 yards. I used a size 6 needle for the body, and I started this back in August, late August, and I just finished it this January. Now, full disclosure, I wanted something that I could knit while I was at the Fiber Universe, and that's where I bought the yarn. That's my local yarn shop in Peoria. And so I wanted something to knit on while I was there, and I discovered I could knit on this. So that's the reason it took me so long to knit on it. One of the reasons, then we had the holidays and I had other knitting that I wanted to do. And so I really wanted to kind of keep this just for knitting at the shop, since that's where I bought the yarn. The other thing is it's not a straightforward easy stockinette. There is a patterning to it that is really just a 2-row pattern, but it involves a lot of ribs. So hence the reason it took me so very long to do it. And as I went along the way, I did make notes in my journal of what I did to make things different. My notes always include, pre-blocking, and I need to still measure this after blocking. As I was knitting it, I was a little worried that it wouldn't be long enough or wide enough, but in blocking, it was perfect. It is just the right width and length, and I really do like it. The pattern was pretty straightforward once you got going. It took a little while. I have to admit, the increases here took a little while and a little bit of paying attention. If you look in Ravelry under my projects are PJKnits 1. I will have all the details on it as well, as to what I did here and there. I super loved it. Super loved working on it along the way. And there's kind of all the notes that encompass my pattern. So I bought the yarn in spring of 2023, and then didn't get around to knitting it until later in that. But I do totally love this pattern. And I'll stand up here just a sec. I'm going to move you back, sorry. So you can get a feel for it. There will be pictures later. Now, one of the things is I was kind of concerned about the sleeves being too long, but when I pulled out her pattern, she has hers long as well, and I'm perfectly fine with that as well. So as I said, there will be pictures later on the pattern. I did do decreasing on the sleeves, as I always do as well. So those are also in the pattern. But I really do like this. This is just a lovely, lovely, fun, and I think it's going to be great for winter. And I can't wait to kind of sort of wear it next year as well. So I'm just going to get you back here a little bit. There we go. And there we go. And one of the things that, I said that I would do this year, instead of doing like a total video of all my 2023 makes. As we come upon a month, and I podcast, I'm going to just pull some of those sweaters that I finished last year just to share with you. And the one that I want to share this time, and I wore this a couple of times on the podcast. This is Yume by Isabel Kramer, and I love this. I love this sweater. It is comfy. It is fun to wear. Now, I have often thought that I should have went lighter so that you really could have seen the detail on the neck, but I do like this so much. I like wearing this, and it is a perfect transitional sweater. So it is perfect for going into the spring, and I may take this with me because it would be a great sweater to kind of kick around on when to layer up with down there. So this is by Isabel Kramer, as I said. This particular one I cast on the size 1, and which was a 41.5-inch finished measurement. I used size 5 and 7 needles on it, and it took about 1,300 yards. I purchased the yarn at the mini meetup in 2022 at Elgin Knitworks. I picked that yarn. It's the Barocco Remix Light in Elgin. And I did that from Elgin Knitworks in Elgin at the time we were at mini meetup. And I cast it on the first part of September 2022, finished it in February 14th, almost a year ago. And I took this to Montreal with me. It was a great sweater for Montreal for kicking around in May. And I have wore it several times in the spring and again in the fall. So I wanted to share this 2023 finished object with you and tell you how much I liked it. The lace was simple, pretty simple to do. I did some decreasing on my sleeves. And again, if you check out my project page on PJKnits1 in Ravelry, you will find all the details. About 1,300 yards. It was a fun knit because once you get done with this lace, then you really are just doing the body. And again, I love a good circular sweater, whether it's bottom up or top down. I love this this funness that to be able to knit on that during Zooms or you know, watching TV programs or any of those things. So this is Yume. I'm calling it Yume. It may be Yume by Isabel Kramer. And again, this was a finished object in 2023. So again, I want to remind you about the Hap-along. We'll be doing that Zoom on March 4th at 6 p.m. Central Time. We continue to do our Saturday night Zooms at 6 p.m. The info is on the header of the Ravelry PJ Knits page group. I'm not going to say that I will not be there between now and the end of February, but I'm going to be gone. So if I can, I will try and check in on Saturday nights starting this week through the end of the month. But if I'm not there, please join in. My co-host will be, or my host, the one that will be hosting for me while I'm gone, will be Marie. And a shout out to Marie. Thank you so very much for doing this when I'm not able to be there. You know, sometimes travel means that you're not there on a Saturday. I will try to check in. I would love to catch up with all of you, but there's no promises at this point in time. So just want to encourage you all to please come there and join our Zoom group if you want to on Saturday nights. It's a wonderful group so far of ladies from all over the world and all kinds of knitting. You don't have to just knit. We have people who like to cross stitch too and crochet and just love building that community with those people. They're, you know, it's more than a community. We're friends now. You know, we talk about all kinds of things. And as far as I'm concerned, you will know a lot more about me than you probably want to know if you come to Zoom. We don't necessarily, we try to steer away from religion and politics, though, with everything that means. But we are enabled by each other, but we learn from each other, not only about knitting, but about other things as well that we never knew. So please join us. We'd love to have you. Last couple of things that I want to share with you are kind of sort of mail call. First up, I got today in the mail from Lost City Knits. I've been waiting for this. I got my color shade cards from Lost City Knits. They had them back in stock. This is the shade card from Jamieson and Smith, because there is going to be some of these things in my future as well. And these are nice color cards. They have samples of the yarn, even better than some of the other Jamieson card that I have. So I'm loving this. This came today. I'm super excited about this when I get back. Just going to turn it this way a little bit. There you go. Center me up. So this came in the mail today. One of the things that I had hoped to have cast on by now, and this is kind of a mail call of sorts, that this was a pattern that Leslie Friend, and if you don't watch her podcast, please do, A Friend to Knit With. She is a lovely lady and very generous when she comes out with some of her patterns. You know, they're just very timely. And she came out with this called Warm Friend. Didn't know that I really needed it until I saw the podcast. And so this was a pattern that you can purchase on Ravelry from her now. It was, when it first comes out, it was free for a couple of days, and she's such a generous lady. So I promptly got the pattern, and then I promptly went to her link. That she has a blog, and went to her link. She also put in the show notes of this of her podcast, when she did that, a link for the Amazon. So I bought myself a hot water bottle. Again, didn't know I needed it, but I did. And then I went to my stash and found that I did not have enough yarn left over from anything. But my friend Kendra to the rescue had a skein of the Hue and Me in Magic Hour. And so I don't know that I will get this done before I leave, but I want to cast on and make myself a hot water bottle. I use a heating pad to keep warm, not for any kind of ailments. And so I think putting this in my bed in the wintertime before I go to bed would be super fun. So this particular came. And then one of my friends that I met through a meetup, and who watches the podcast, and I see her on some Zooms, sent me a lovely, lovely gift. And she wishes that I don't share her name here, but I just want to give a shout out to her and tell her thank you so very much. This was such a surprise. This is called a junk journal. Now, I have heard of junk journals in the past, but I really didn't know what they are. You know, I follow a lot of people who are doing all kinds of journals on Instagram and give me inspiration, but I didn't really know what a junk journal was until I received one. And here is this. Came in the mail, and she wants me to make my own. And the thing that's so fun about this is I get the junk part of it is like junk mail that you get in. You know, we're quick to toss things, but there's some really cool stuff in my mail that I have been keeping sometimes for my own journals, some inspiration photos or whatever. And so anyway, just to give you a little look through, and if you go to my PJ Knits Instagram, there was a reel not too long ago, but this is just so cool. Of how this is set up and things to make your own, and puts little pockets here and there, little pockets to put stuff. This is just so cool. I love this. Little pages. Look at this. And making little envelopes to slide things in. I love this. And pop little stuff underneath it. It's just every page that I turn to is just so cool. Here's another little pocket to put things in. And just stuff that you get in the mail that are really cool. And this is like so neat because, here we go. A little thing from Agatha Christie. Look at this. Pops open. template for the photo, envelopes, bookmarks, just all kinds of things. Paper to put in. It's just the coolest thing. And I'm so, this sends me in a whole nother direction. So anyway. So thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I love this, and it is a treasure. I truly, truly appreciate it so very much. And I can't say thank you enough, but thank you so much. Well, that's about all I have today. As I said, I will see you probably in a month. I may podcast if I have an update mid to late February. One never knows. I don't know at this point in time whether I will or not, but I will see you then, and hopefully we will bring spring back with us. And I've been doing, again, at the end, I try to do a little bit of the Power of Knitting book that I read some time ago. And I just want to share this one passage with you because, as I said, if you are a knitter and a child of the 60s, you know about Gilligan's Island, you know about 3-hour tour. And even if you're a knitter, you know what traveling is. You know, you pack your knitting first, right? And I just love this passage. I think it's very appropriate for today from her book. She's talking about her grandmother here and something that her grandmother said. She said, Dickens was right in one thing, she said. Knitting is a language that only knitters understand. You can knit anything into your pattern, a name, a story, a prayer, or a poem. So I hope that you're doing that with your knitting, and I am so very glad and appreciative to all of you who came and checked my podcast out. Please like, subscribe, comment below, and tell your friends, if you would, about my podcast. That's how we grow the channel, and it's always fun to make new friends as well. So until next time, sun is kind of trying to peek out here. I hope the sun is coming your way as well, and that you are safe, well, healthy, and having a lot of fun with your knitting. And pack heavy if you're driving. Pack heavy. All right. I'll catch you on the Pearl side. Thank you so much. Bye.